Hey guys, I know it's been a while since I've made any videos other than the normal stuff we do on the weekends, but wanted to bring something up that has been on my mind, and I didn't know if I should even make this or not, but I figured why not? Good a time as any. I got to refer to a few notes here so I don't get too mixed up here. But in 2020, that was a crazy time, COVID and all that. Well, Trump, as he was campaigning, he had a rally here in town. Uh, it was pretty standard of the rallies that he was doing, at the time. So I decided to go just down the street from my house anyway. So, excuse me. It was October 24th, going back looking at some notes here. So I went like everybody was doing, got there real early. It was still dark. So standing through the line, chit chatting with people and just, kind of having a good time. Nothing uneventful, just whatever. So finally they let us in the gates. It was at our fairgrounds. The most expensive rally he ever had, is what I was told, because there's no security there normally. He had to bring in everything. But anyway, we went through the metal detector, which wasn't a big deal. And we still had probably another half hour, 45-minute wait once we got past that to get to the little area where his rally was going to be. It wasn't a very big area. It's actually a parking lot. But they had us all crammed in there. Well, anyhow, I'm standing there and I have my jacket on that I wear a lot. It's like a Carhartt type. And on the back of it, it's got my UFO logo, the Central Ohio UFO Reporting Center. So I'm standing there talking to people. I went by myself. So I'm just talking to some random people. All of a sudden, somebody comes up behind me and grabs my shoulder and kind of pulls on me a little bit. And it startled me. I'm like, what in the world's going on? So I turn around, and this guy's standing there. And he says, come with me. I'm like, okay. I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe I did something. I had no clue. So we kind of walk off to the side in a little corner area. We didn't go too far. And he told me who he was. His name was Matthew Collins. He's from Florida. And he was part of Trump's security detail. I wouldn't call him Secret Service necessarily. I think he was more of a private deal that the campaign themselves had, paid for or whatever. But anyhow, he says, I seen the logo on your jacket from across the way there. He said, what's the deal with that? And I explained to him that, I investigate stuff when people call it in. Got a Facebook page, my website, and all that. And he just goes on. I mean, he just unloads. And this is the interesting part. He says, there are extraterrestrial beings in Trump's campaign. And I said, excuse me? He said, yes. He said, they're actually even here, but you won't recognize them. I said, okay. He called them the Nordic race. Pure white. He said he didn't give an exact height, but he said they were tall, and they had to duck to go underneath the wing of his plane. And I didn't think about it at the time. It didn't register for quite a while. They weren't talking about Air Force One. It wasn't his plane. His plane is a 757. So the wingspan, depending on, exactly where you're at, if you're closer back to the main body of the plane, you're looking about 7 foot, which is what these beings have been reported since this disclosure is coming out of how tall they are. About 6 to 7 foot. They'd have to duck to go under the wing. He said you'll never notice them normally. He said the only chance you would have is if you're watching a live feed online like they do on YouTube and places when they got the cameras at the tarmac waiting on him to land to come out of his plane and all that kind of stuff. They said then you may catch a glimpse of something having to duck to go under the wing. He said, but other than that, you'll never notice them. He said he is fully aware of them too, even though he will not publicly admit it. And I said, well, why are they part of the campaign? Like, what's their deal? He said, they keep him safe. He said, this is the reason he can do all of these rallies, even though this was the most expensive security-wise. There really wasn't a lot of security there. Yes, we had metal detectors. There were some snipers around in different spots. But overall, we were all rushed through, and it really wasn't a big deal. You could get really close to the stage. The day before the rally, I actually walked up to the stage and leaned on his podium. I mean, I went out the day before just messing around because there was no security then. You just walk around. He said that they kept him safe, and that was why he was able to do all the things he did without bulletproof stuff in front of him and all of that. He wanted to connect with the people as close as possible. You know, shake hands with some and different things. I was pretty close. I was, I don't know, 5 or 6 rows back, something like that. And it was just a very relaxed environment. It did not seem like a high security, crazy kind of detail. But like I said, the guy was just unloading all of this stuff. And I had an interest, obviously, but I didn't think a ton about it until recently. Now with all of this talk that's been in all the media, stuff they're releasing, and one of the big things that's been talked about, one of the races, is the Nordic race. And the height, the whole deal, everything that was told to me then is coming out from different sources now. Now, have we seen any concrete proof? No, not at the moment. Will we? I don't know. But regardless, it's the same story, 6 years later, from a lot higher up people than what this guy was. But like I said, his name was Matthew Collins. I don't know a whole lot about the guy. I tried to look him up before, and he originally wanted to come on and do an interview, but I'm not exactly sure what happened with that. But I don't know how much more he could say. Anyway, we talked for probably a good, 15 or 20 minutes, and then they started letting a few people into the main area, and he got called away, so we couldn't continue to talk, and I couldn't find him anymore in there. There was so many people in such a small area. We were packed in like sardines. I mean, it was hard to, locate anybody. But I wanted to bring that out. I didn't really know, if I should or shouldn't, but, why not with everything that's coming out. So, very interesting. Like I said, I don't know what to really make of it, but to be told that, like I said, I kind of discounted the whole thing about the height and the ducking of the plane, because I had in my mind, Air Force One, and that wasn't what he was referencing. He was referencing Trump's private plane, which is smaller. It's not as tall. So, just wanted to throw that out there. So if anybody else has ever heard anything, or if you've been to, any events that he may have been at, noticed anything, or have seen any footage, anywhere online of any kind of a humanoid being looking, creature ducking under the wing of his plane or anything like that, feel free to, leave some comments. Let me know. You can look me up on Facebook under the same group name. I'll pin a comment. If you want to go over there, you can hit me up on the messenger thing, whatever, and see what's what if you got anything to share or any other UFO related stuff. But one last thing I want to play before I end this video, and it's on the screen there, the original 1947 ABC radio broadcast of Roswell, which my town here has a connection with to a degree. This is where the weather balloon story was reported to have originated here in Ohio, Circleville, Ohio. So I'm going to play this real quick, and then I'll end the video.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Late this afternoon, a bulletin from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondents in Los Angeles and Chicago have been in contact with Army officials endeavoring to obtain all possible late information. Joe Wilson reports to us now from Chicago.
The Army may be getting to the bottom of all this talk about the so-called flying saucers. As a matter of fact, the 509th Atomic Bomb Group headquarters at Roswell, New Mexico, reports that it has received one of the discs which landed on a ranch outside Roswell. The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico, and the rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brizzell was the man who discovered the saucer. Colonel William Blanchard of the Roswell Air Base refuses to give details of what the flying disc looks like. In Fort Worth, Texas, where the object was first sent, Brigadier General Roger Ramey says that it is being shipped by air to the AAF Research Center at Wright Field, Ohio. A few moments ago, I talked to officials at Wright Field, and they declared that they expect the so-called flying saucer to be delivered there, but that it hasn't arrived as yet. In the meantime, General Ramey describes the object as being of flimsy construction, almost like a box kite. He says that it was so battered that he was unable to determine whether it had a disc form, and he does not indicate its size. Ramey says that so far as can be determined, no one saw the object in the air, and he describes it as being made of some sort of tinfoil. Other Army officials say that further information indicates that the object had a diameter of about 20 to 25 feet, and that nothing in the apparent construction indicated any capacity for speed, and that there was no evidence of a power plant. The disc also appeared too flimsy to carry a man. Now, back to Taylor Grant in New York.
There was important activity within the UN Security Council today.